Hi, everyone. My name is Kara Myberg Guzman. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Santa Cruz Local. For those of you who are new to Santa Cruz Local, we are a local news podcast, newsletter, and website, and we serve Santa Cruz County. We cover local government and our county's biggest issues like housing, homelessness, and more. We are here tonight for the Watsonville City Council Candidate Forum. This is part of a series of candidate forums we're holding this week. We have one more. We've done one for each of the city councils, and we have one more on the County Board of Supervisors race tomorrow night, if you would like to join us. Before we get started, I'd like to thank all our partners and co-sponsors who made tonight possible. The Aptos Chamber of Commerce, Association of Faith Communities, Capitola SoCal Chamber of Commerce, Community Bridges, County Park Friends, Live Oak Cradles to Career, Pajaro Valley Chamber of Commerce, Santa Cruz Community Health Centers, Santa Cruz County Business Council, Santa Cruz County Chamber of Commerce, Santa Cruz Museum of Art and History, Santa Cruz Indivisible, Santa Cruz Policy, Santa Cruz Works, and the Watsonville Chamber of Commerce. I just want to make sure okay, great. So this conversation will be, we have Spanish interpretation available. I'd like to introduce our interpreter, Beatriz Trujillo.
Hi, everyone. My name is Beatriz Trujillo. As Kara mentioned, I will be the Spanish interpreter for tonight. So let me do the announcement in Spanish. Aquellos de ustedes que les gustaría escuchar la junta en español, dentro de unos segundos me van a asignar como su intérprete a español. Van a ver un icono del mundo abajo de su pantalla. Asegúrense de que en ese icono seleccionan el idioma español. Y de ahí, si no quieren estar escuchando dos voces al mismo tiempo, pongan en mudo el lenguaje en el que se está produciendo la junta. ¿Está bien? Muchas gracias. So if you can just assign me as the interpreter. Thank you.
Great. So let's meet the candidates. For District 1, so if you live in District 1, you'll see on your ballot Eduardo Montesino. He's running unopposed, and we'll be hearing from him tonight. If you live in District 2, you'll see on your ballot Vanessa Quiroz-Carter and Aurelio Gonzalez. Vanessa, you'll hear from Vanessa Quiroz-Carter tonight. Aurelio Gonzalez could not join us. And if you live in District 6, you'll see on your ballot Jimmy Dutra and Tony Gomez. You'll meet Jimmy Dutra tonight. Tony Gomez could not join us. So now for introductions. Candidates, please say your name and why you're running for City Council. You'll have 90 seconds. Natalia will keep track of time. You'll see the clock in that window. Let's start with Eduardo Montesino.
My name is Eduardo Montesino, and I'm a former council member for the city a few years back. But I'm a parent here with raising a young family still, and I just want to provide that experience that I have for the community, especially in these hard times with the pandemic. I want to provide some the leadership role that I've learned over the years, and being able to guide the city, especially in these hard times. Thank you.
Thank you. Vanessa Quiroz-Carter. Oh, you're muted, Vanessa.
I'm waiting for the timer.
Oh, thank you. There you go.
Hello,
Thank you.
everyone. Good evening. My name is Vanessa, and I am born and raised in Watsonville. I have my BA from English and from Berkeley and my master's degree from Cal State East Bay in communication. I moved back to Watsonville after living in the Bay Area for a few years, and I am hoping to help push things here in Watsonville, hoping to continue to grow and change. I really want to amplify voices that have been historically marginalized. I believe in education, empathy, and empowerment. I'm passionate about creating opportunity, especially opportunity for our youth, because they are the future. They will lead us. Watsonville has an insane amount of talent and creativity, and I really want to listen and engage with the public and know what the public needs and the public wants. I see the potential. I see a lot of collective vision, and I'm running to make sure that vision happens. So thank you very much for having me tonight, and I look forward to chatting with you.
Thank you, Vanessa. Jimmy Dutra. Oh, Jimmy, you're muted.
You think I would have that down by now? Like, I appreciate it. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me here tonight. My name is Jimmy Dutra, for those of you that don't know me, but and I was the former mayor pro tem for the city of Watsonville and a city council member. I came off about a year and a half ago to run for supervisor and did not, unfortunately, win that, though it was a close race. And I am now running to go back onto the city council to continue the job that I started 4 years ago. I am a son of Watsonville. I attended local schools. I went to EA Hall Middle School and Watsonville High School, and am now a teacher in our district and at a Pajaro Middle School, a school that my mother attended. So I love it, and I love giving back the gift of education to our children. I grew up here. I did 4-H and was active with our fair, Little League, and Pop Warner football. I was active in high school. I was on the debate team and school politics. My participation in the community has continued over the years. I was on the Pajaro Valley Shelter Services as president of the board for multiple years and helped work to get men, women, and children back into sustainable and stable housing. I also was on the Metro board and did that for several years. I've worked with our local union leaders, both in the city and on Metro, and now have the endorsement of our local Monterey Bay Central Labor Council as well. And
thank you, Jimmy. We're out of time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It flies by.
We have a tight schedule tonight. Thank you. So now for our main questions. These questions come from our readers and listeners. We've had a survey out for several weeks about asking what do you want the candidates to talk about in this forum. We've also held interviews and more surveys over the last several months and with Watsonville residents. We're going to paste each question in the chat for our audience. The chat box is at the bottom of your screen. If you click on that icon, you'll be able to see the chat and the questions. Candidates, we ask that you be respectful of the other candidates in your response. At the same time, we invite you to differentiate how your plans and policies are different from the other candidates. So I'll call on each candidate. Again, you'll have 90 seconds. And the first question, many residents want more job options. What's your plan to diversify the city's economy and bring in more jobs? First, Vanessa Quiroz-Carter.
Well, as I said before in my intro, I think we have a lot of talent and we have a lot of opportunity for having new small businesses, which would create more jobs and more job opportunities and allow folks to actually live out their dreams. So I really would like to work with different organizations to make that possible, to help with training, to help getting people to apply for loans and things like that. I think that we do need to stay local and invest in our local talent. So I would really like to see that. As far as things like zoning, I want to really look at, where can we zone, where can we have new businesses, where can we have new commercial zoning, and things like that. So that's really my plan, is keeping it local, investing into the community and having more small businesses and helping people start up new small businesses. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vanessa. Next, Jimmy Dutra.
Thank you. So, do you want to start the clock? I could take that 27 seconds.
There you go. Sorry about that.
Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So, this is something that, when I started running over 5 years ago, was something that I always was talking about because, so many of my friends, when we graduated high school from here in Watsonville, we went off to college and many did not come home because there just was not the opportunity for someone who went off to college to come back to. And that's something that I really wanted to work on. And we do have a lot of, we have some really big organizations here, like Driscoll's and West Marine. And unfortunately, we lost Fox Shock recently, but we have Whole Foods. One of their big offices is here as well. So, and these are their corporate offices. So we need to create more of those kind of jobs so that we can bring our sons and daughters home back to this community and offer them the employment because otherwise it's just impossible to have them come back. I also want to agree with Vanessa. We need to really strengthen our small mom and pop businesses and work with them to make sure that they not only close their doors because right now with COVID, it's people are turning to that, but that they keep them open. And as a city council, we need to work and do everything possible to make sure that they are thriving and that they stay open. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jimmy. Eduardo Montesino, what's your plan to diversify the city's economy and bring in more jobs? Oh, sorry, Eduardo, you're muted.
There we go. Sorry. So it's a double plan. I mean, like just the candidates just talked about is right now we got to think about keeping our local mom and pop businesses open because we have a lot of those in our community. We have to strengthen the relationship with them and keep that going, but also bringing opportunities. Look at the permit process to make it easier instead of making it more challenging. Look at the fees. Or where are our fees at? I know to be able to attract and make it easier for people to build something that they want to do, and partner with the business community to see what areas we can help attract and how they can guide us there. Because I mean, one of the things is like, yeah, we can we have a lot of wishes, but the business community can help us, solidify what we can bring and help us partner what the areas that we need to grow or change the zoning areas. Thank you.
Thank you all. Okay, so now for our lightning round, we're going to ask a series of yes or no questions. Please raise your hand if the statement applies to you, and I'll name the candidates who raised their hand. The ideas I'm about to list came from you, in our candidate interviews for our Watsonville City Council podcast episode. Okay, so please raise your hand if you see areas in your city council district that you would like to rezone to allow multifamily housing. Okay, I see Jimmy Dutra, Eduardo Montesino, and Vanessa Quiroz-Carter. Thank you. Please raise your hand if you would fund more youth programs by shifting money away from the police department. Vanessa Quiroz-Carter. Thank you. Okay. Past leaders have tried to rezone or annex county agricultural land next to the city of Watsonville to allow development. It's been controversial. Raise your hand if you would pursue this. I see no hands. Thank you. Okay, and this last question is on the city's inclusionary law. That law requires developers of housing projects of a certain size to make 15 to 20% of units affordable. Raise your hand if you want the city to study that law to see if those requirements are optimal to create the most affordable housing. I see Jimmy Dutra, Eduardo Montesino, and Vanessa Quiroz-Carter. Thank you. That's our lightning round. Okay, so the next question from our readers and listeners. We heard from residents who are concerned about equity in education. In March, about 20% of students in the county did not have home internet. Most of those students were in South County. That's what we heard from the County Office of Education. Wi-Fi hotspots have been handed out, but families can have higher internet demands than those hotspots can handle. There's still a digital divide. How can the city help provide free Wi-Fi in more public places and affordable high-speed internet to more homes? We'll start with Jimmy Dutra. Jimmy, you're muted still.
Okay, I started last time too, so I thought it was gonna be Eduardo. Yeah, we're dealing with this is a really big issue, and I see it, as a teacher. We still have students who do not have access to internet. It's a tragedy. We've had kids, during the pandemic when we weren't doing distance learning, they would have to come to the parking lot to sit in the parking lot of the school to get internet. We need to start making it and upgrading our broadband throughout the entire city, especially down through Main Street, which a lot of it is done, but we need to continue doing that. We need to make sure that areas that are, not accessible are becoming equipped with internet services. And the city should be working directly, as well as the city and the school district should work collaboratively together, especially for the students to get the broadband and the internet where it needs to go. So because this is a really big issue that we're dealing with, and we're continuing to deal with it. And it sounds like South County is the one that suffers the most, and I'm still seeing the suffering happening. So I don't see it as fully a city's issue. I think we need to work in partnership. And I think there needs to be a lot of hands on this, because the future of the children should really be important to all of us.
Thank you, Jimmy. Next, Eduardo Montesino.
I agree with Jamie. He has the right idea. It's a whole community issue, but also getting Spectrum to look at our Wi-Fi capabilities and just city facilities and school facilities. See if we can get better distance. Like in my house, I just bought a Google Point. Because on my second floor I wasn't getting the right internet for my kids for their schooling. So stuff around like that maybe could address within the city buildings or school buildings, but working with Spectrum and working with the school district, I think is the right approach.
Thank you, Eduardo. Vanessa Quiroz-Carter.
So I see this as a pretty multi-pronged approach. So we do have a long-term solution or something for the long term, which I see. One thing is that's really interesting about Watsonville is that Watsonville is a full service city, meaning that we have our own garbage, our own water, our own police department, fire, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think it makes sense logically to add in Wi-Fi access there. This may be controversial, but I think that, since we are a full service city, that is something that we can look into doing in the future, is having our own Wi-Fi, which would enable more Wi-Fi spots for, more affordable Wi-Fi for a lot of folks. In the short term, I think that we can partner with, more local providers, local service access providers to provide, more affordable access for folks. And also the school district can, I know they have provided Wi-Fi hotspots and things like that. But again, as the question said, that it's not often enough. The bandwidth isn't enough. So I think really those are the two solutions, is having a long-term solution. So in the long term, maybe having our own municipal service provider. In the short term, partnering with a local service provider that's able to provide, more affordable options for folks. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next question. We heard from voters in their 20s and 30s that they have friends who go off to college and don't come back. They say there isn't enough affordable housing in Watsonville, there aren't enough jobs for young people, and there aren't enough fun things to do. Candidates, what is your plan to encourage young people to stay in Watsonville? We'll start with Eduardo Montesino.
Yeah, I know that's been a challenge, throughout. That's why, the last time that I was on the council, I created the youth council to provide, guidance for those youth advocates and for them to portray that to all the students. But it is a hard, but we need to work as a community to be able to attract, affordability to the housing. It's not only, a three-room approach, but it's studios. We need to build studios. We need, because a lot of those college grads are single. So they're not looking into a big house. So we approach of building on Main Street, on Freedom, and providing those avenues. But like I said, working with the community to bring in more equitable jobs like that I think we're all talking about, because those are the jobs that they're looking for, and because they want to be close to the community and close to their families. So we need to work together to achieve this approach.
Thank you, Eduardo. Vanessa Quiroz-Carter, what is your plan to encourage young people to stay in Watsonville?
So I personally relate to this a lot because I did leave for more opportunity, but I always promised myself that I would come back and I would try to create opportunities. So that's why I'm running. That's why I'm here. And, as a fairly young person, it is really hard to find fun things to do, right? Watsonville is a city that, we don't have a lot of nightlife, and there's not a lot of spaces to connect. And fortunately, in this pandemic, we have the internet to connect. And so it's been really interesting seeing all the interesting, cool things that people are doing. And I think that there is an incentive for people to come back. People just like me who really love Watsonville and are like, I want to come back, and here's the need, here's what's missing, here's what we need to do. So I think that we need to invest in those young people who are willing to step up and really be leaders for our community. I know that we have a lot of nonprofits, we have a lot of youth groups, we have a lot of art organizations that are all youth led. We have a lot of new places, like the Slice Project, right, is a new place. It's a new business owned by young folks. And so really, again, investing in these ideas and these dreams, because the young people are really going to shape Watsonville. So having young folks getting politically involved, being civic minded, and really looking out for one another and really getting their message heard, having their voice heard. That's another thing that has been a silver lining of the pandemic. We have a lot of younger folks that are joining the city council meetings and really making their voice heard. So that's great to see. And I'd love to continue to see that.
Thank you. And Jimmy Dutra, what is your plan to encourage young people to stay in Watsonville?
Okay, wait. Well, one is making sure that we can create job opportunity for our young adults. So when they come back, they want to come back and they have a job that they can, make a living wage, and hopefully more than a living wage, because living here in Watsonville is very expensive. We're not as expensive as Santa Cruz, but we're getting there. And so definitely making sure that we are creating enough jobs. And I want to agree with Vanessa too. We need, creating spaces for young adults to go, building up a nightlife, revitalizing downtown. That is something that we definitely need to continue working on. It's going to be coming up in front of the city council while the new, coming up in the next year or so. And this new council that is going to be elected is going to be dealing with it. And I think it's important to have a broad array of minds that are going to be adding to it, generational minds. And I think that's going to be important. And, and also bringing people onto boards. That's what I promised to do. When I put my boards together, bringing in people onto commissions, I make sure that I have young people involved in the political system, because a lot of times people look at it as, something that someone can do as a retirement. And that's something I'm trying to move away from. I'm trying to say, you know what, it is important to have all generational views, and I want to make sure, and I want to bring them to the table.
Thank you. Next question. We asked this in our written questionnaire, but we'd like you to give you the opportunity to expand. In Watsonville, houses that are meant for one family now accommodate many more people than they are intended. They've moved in together to afford the rent or mortgage. What is your plan to create better housing options for residents? How would your plan be funded? We'll start with Vanessa Quiroz-Carter.
Yeah, so this is really common, right? We have multi-generational households, which can be a really, really beautiful thing. And we have, multi-family households, which again can be a beautiful thing, but it can also create hazards with living situations that are not ideal, that are cramped, and things like that. And then it just exacerbates problems like parking and traffic and all of those types of things. I think that, trying to create more housing to alleviate that would be a start. And I think Eduardo said this, having more, single units, more studios and things like that for young folks to be able to leave their family's house, I think would really, really help. In order to fund that, I would need to look at a lot of different funding sources to see how that could be funded. So that I can't really give a definitive answer, but looking at zoning, right? Looking at where we can create these new structures and really seeing the cost before we start looking at funding sources. I think that would be my plan, is to kind of figure out what the need is, figure out where we can do this, and then looking at how are we going to fund this, because it is a need. So it is something that needs to be done. And I would need to do more research to figure out how to make that happen. But I absolutely see the need for that, so young folks are able to go out and have their own, single family homes. So we don't have some of the issues that can arise when we have, homes that are overcrowded.
Thank you. Jimmy Dutra, what's your plan to create better housing options for residents? How would your plan be funded?
So I think the days of single residential housing is behind us. I don't think we're going to be having a lot more projects that where you're going to have communities of single homes be built. At least for me, when I was on the city council, all the projects that we approved were either townhouses or in the condo type of construction. And then I think that's the direction we're going in, just so it actually provides more housing and opportunity, especially for young people. So like I've been saying, I'll continue to support multi-use residential units. And I believe that's also going to create a walkable downtown or community. So, and if we build those, build them up, which it's getting support across all types of people in our community, I think that we will be able to build a vibrant and definitely walkable and build a really strong economy for our community by doing multi-use.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy. Eduardo Montesino, what's your plan to create better housing options for residents, and how would your plan be funded?
Yeah, we need to provide more options for our community. We have a lot of vibrant young community that want options, like I talked about studio, but make it easier for developers to build. Like I keep saying, looking at the zoning, but looking at fees, but making it easier to so we can attract more developers. Working with some of our partners like Mid-Penn. Like I know the city's been working for a while. How to be funded? That's community, I think, question. I mean, next year, Measure Use is gonna pop up or on the conversation, and with that, I think the community needs to, as a community, we need to talk about how we're gonna fund these endeavors, and how and where to grow. You know, along Main Street, Freedom, Main, and providing those avenues. But it's going to take a community effort to get, you know, the funding resources, our partners, you know, our housing partners, but our business community also. But everyone has to pitch in, and everybody's going to have to dig into this conversation, because we are having lots of families per house unit.
Thank you. Thank you all. Okay, next question. Residents told us that they want more parks and they want more city-sponsored youth activities. The question is, how will it be funded? Voters passed Measure Y, a sales tax hike, in March, but it's only expected to bring about $320,000 to parks and community services. What is your plan to fund new parks and more youth activities? We will start with Jimmy Dutra.
Thank you. As I'm out on the knocking on doors every single day, I help put 2 parks in the city. There's no other council member that can say that they have, achieved that while being on the council. And that's something I will continue to work on. Our Davis property, what I work with PAL to bring in after-school programs, I raised the money privately to put that in, because when I went to the city, they said, we just do not have funding for this park. And it was a concrete jungle when I got a hold of it. We raised money, we put in a community garden, we brought in PAL, put in after-school programs. We have a basketball court. It really helped with, taking out crime in the area, offering a place for kids to go. Parks are super important. Over by Rolling Hills, we worked with a rundown alley kind of park, and we got grant money for it. We brought the community in. We put in murals. We really made it a vibrant place. So we need to continue doing this. And when the city says we don't have money, we need to say that's not acceptable, and we need to figure out ways of making it happen. We need to work with our nonprofit organizations and making sure that programs continue. We can't always just put all the weight on the city, because they're sometimes just going to say no. So we have to reach out and work with our partners. And that's something that I've been doing, and that I've done, and that I've been successful at. So we need to continue putting in more parks and more programs for our youth.
Thank you, Jimmy. Eduardo Montesino, what is your plan to fund new parks and more youth activities?
Yeah, I'm a big advocate. Even in my candidate statement, I want artificial turf for Ramsey Park. But I think, like Jimmy was saying, because I know he's a great advocate, I know he's done a couple parks. We all strive for the same things, because we have a lot of youth in our community. I think it's next year could be an opportunity if the sales tax is to increase. Maybe looking at the sales tax just for parks. I know that that has pulled well in our community the last time. So looking at those kind of options, and looking at property, we're not just fixing, but creating a huge sports complex. If we're able to achieve that. But like I said, going to the community, looking at those options, I think community would be very favorable to something that just designated for parks. So that's what I'll be working on that.
Thank you, Eduardo. And Vanessa Quiroz-Carter, what is your plan to fund new parks and more youth activities?
So I think it's really important to look at multiple sources of funding. So at the local level, at the state level, at the federal level, there are grants available. I've really been vocal about wanting a pool complex similar to Simpkins. I really want that in Watsonville. That's a dream of mine. So I would love to make that happen. And I think really looking at our own budget and really looking at things like Measure Y that only give a certain amount to Parks and Rec, youth development programs, public works, and really seeing where we can, where we can kind of redistribute funds. Where are the funds going to, and where can we redistribute back into these, vital services? Because I believe that parks, neighborhood services, things like that, that's what really makes the community safe. And so that's really what I want to see our funds going into. So again, looking at different funding sources from, not only the county level, but the state level, the federal level, private grants, things like that. And also looking at our own budget and seeing where we can redistribute funds back into these really vital services. So that would be my plan, is looking at multi funding sources. Thank you.
Thank you. We actually have a little more time, so I wanted to ask one more question before closing statements. I wanted to go back to the previous question on housing options and give you each a minute more to expand. So again, the question was, what's your plan to create better housing options for residents, and how would your plan be funded? What I heard about a description of the problem, and I heard about, approving projects that come across, denser projects that come before the council, that you would support that if elected. But I think residents really want to hear about your plan. Like, how will you bring, the development of more housing options to the city, and how would that plan be funded? I'd like to give you another minute if you'd like to expand on that. And we'll start back with Vanessa Quiroz-Carter.
Yeah, as I said before, this is something that we really need to look into, because we have to see what needs to be done. So it's hard to figure out like how much we need if we don't have a definitive plan. I really, really liked what Eduardo said, is looking at where they're going to happen, looking at the zoning. I know I talked about that before, and really seeing, like, do we have money, right? I don't know. I don't know about the budget. The last budget meeting that I attended, it was more about COVID relief and things like that. So looking to see what we have in the budget. Do we have money for new development? If we don't, again, looking into funding sources and how we're going to fund that. And again, seeing if we can redistribute funds into housing development. So really looking at all of that is necessary before we really start to make plans, because it's dependent on how big we want, how many units we can do, all of that types of things. So just looking at all the funding that's available for that already.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Jimmy Dutra.
So there's a couple things. One is we could look for some, grant funding, work with some of the nonprofits that do build housing. I think Habitat for Humanity is someone that we've worked with to build housing in Watsonville, maybe continuing to do that as well. I think they're doing a project right now out by the airport. So continue with more projects and working with organizations that do this. Listen, I came in big dreams before too, and then the city says no, 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 no. You get to learn the word no real quick. I mean, always telling you there's no money for anything, right? Eduardo's laughing. Like, it's like I came in like Vanessa, let's change the world, and then they're like no, and so it's really frustrating, right? So then you have to like start thinking about outside of the box. How are we going to make this work? Because the city is not going to do a lot, right? So I think also maybe working with trying to find those contractors, because the projects also have to pencil out for contractors. So maybe trying to find contractors who will, work with us in that situation as well.
Thank you for expanding on that. Eduardo Montesino.
Yeah, I mean, like Jimmy says, we all think of the world when we're not, when we don't know what the constraints are of the city and the budget. But but most cities don't build housing. We attract housing. make it easier for developers to build, and we still put constraints on them, like affordability. You gotta build here, and you gotta build it this way. So those are the avenues that we need to attract, make it more attractable. Like I said, zoning wise, fees wise, but make it a friendlier city. I hear 50-50. People say it's like really hard, and 50% of people say no, it's kind of easy. Like I want to hear from everyone. It's easy. It's easy to build in Watsonville. I got my stuff done. I paid my fees, and the inspector went, and it's being built. Not what I see right currently. It's like all these construction are just like stalemate, waiting for permit.
Thank you, Eduardo. Thank you. Okay, so now for closing statements. Candidates, what would you want to leave voters with? You'll have 90 seconds. Back to Eduardo Montesino.
The biggest thing is, I think from I'm just going to say something from all of us is that we're all come from a well-hearted community. We want to do something for the best for Watsonville. So if you vote for each and any one of us, I think you'll get that heartiness from our community. So don't forget to vote. Because that's one of the most important things, and we're all accessible. We're all, a lot of us are walking distance. A lot of us, just a phone call. Everybody gives, their cell phone. So keep in communication. Keep engaged. Go to the city. Now they're easier to access through Zoom. Speak your mind. Give us some guidance. Sometimes we don't know everything. We might be missing something. So just don't forget to vote, and vote for me in my district.
Thank you, Eduardo. Vanessa Quiroz-Carter, what would you like to leave voters with?
So I am running to give back to my community, to serve my community. I really believe that leaders are people who are willing to listen, even when it's difficult, even when there's, disrespect, even when there's anger, even when there's a lot of emotion, and I'm willing to do that. I really enjoy talking with people. I really have enjoyed going around and canvassing and listening to what folks have to say. And I want folks to be more involved. And I really want to help people bring to life their vision of Watsonville. I have served for almost 20 years. I've served the community in different capacities, and I would be honored to serve District 2 in this capacity. I believe that our community can really thrive if we all have a say. And I would like to bring those voices out. I would like to really hear those voices, represent those voices, and again, just make that vision happen. So I believe in Watsonville. I really believe in investing in us. And I would like to be able to do that on City Council. So again, just, please vote, as Eduardo said, please vote, but I would really be honored to serve in this capacity. And I thank everyone for being here tonight. If you'd like to learn more about me, you can go to my website, vanessaquiroz-carter.com. I'm active on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, so you can find me there as well. And thank you all again. Go out and vote and make your voice heard, because your vote is your voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vanessa. Jimmy Dutra, what would you like to leave voters with? Go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you again for having us here tonight. And this is my dream team, the two others that showed up. So I'm hoping these are the other two that get elected. So, I think that it also does say something, the people who are showing up to things and being active with community participation. So Kara, I know, this is a hard job that you had. So thank you for, following up and making sure that this happened. I've been talking with all the voters and residents of our community, and they feel really disheartened with the direction of our current council. And we do have seen a lot of disrespect lately coming from a few of the members. And I know that if we have a new change, a new blood coming in from at least three new seats, I know that we can really put those council members in the minority and really move our community forward in a positive way and getting us back on track. making sure that everybody has a voice and that we are making sure that there is no community member being left behind. Sometimes we see people, form these little groups, and we see adults being bullying, and we have to be leading as adults. And I want to do that as a city council member. I want to make sure that everybody is included, and I want to make sure that we work on the most difficult of issues that are going to be coming up in front of us, whether it's housing or parks, or making sure that people are not losing their small businesses. We have a lot to work on, and I hope I can count on your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, candidates, for attending. Really grateful for your time and participation. Attendees, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know that there's a very big spectacle debate going on right now for the presidential race, and you chose to invest your time in local government. I really believe that local government, these seats are going to make the big decisions that affect your life. And so it's so important for people to get informed and engaged in local government. And that's what we're doing here today, and really appreciate that you joined us today. Santa Cruz Local is member supported. All of our journalism is free, but we're supported by paying members who contribute $9 a month or $99 a year to allow our work, our stories, our podcasts, our newsletter, our events to be free for everybody. Find out more at santacruzlocal.org/membership. For those of you, we are going to post this recording on our elections guide. It's a nonpartisan elections guide with information on all the city council races and the Board of Supervisors race, as well as how to register to vote, how to check your registration, how to track your ballot, and more. Check it out at santacruzlocal.org/elections. We have one more candidate forum this week. It's tomorrow. We invite you to join us. It's for the County Board of Supervisors District 1 race. That's at 6 p.m. tomorrow. We will post the invite in the chat, and we invite you to continue to submit questions for that forum in our survey. Thank you, everybody. That's a wrap for tonight. So appreciate your time and energy and participation.